Hello everyone and welcome back. Hope you're all having a wonderful day so far. So in today's video, we're going to be covering the three biggest bills being talked about in Congress over the past year involving the Social Security reform that they're hoping to extend the Social Security solvency past, let's say 2032 or 2033. Now, one of these bills will actually increase benefits for everyone on Social Security by $200 per month or $2,400 per year. So of course, we're going to be covering that one as well. Now, before we get into the main content of today's video, if you wouldn't mind helping me out real quickly by just giving this video a like, that just helps out with the good old YouTube algorithm, and also consider subscribing to my channel if you have not already. Also, if you would like to receive up to 12 free stocks from my partner in Webull, after you receive the stocks, you can always sell them for what they're worth and then transfer that money back to your bank account. I will leave a link in a pinned comment below if that offer interests you. Okay, so working our way backwards, sort of. Now, this one actually isn't a bill yet, it's just a proposal, but it is a bipartisan one, so we have lawmakers on both sides of the aisle, both Democrats and Republicans, working on the proposal. It may eventually become a bill, but it is not one yet. So, according to Semaphore, a bipartisan group led by Senators Angus and Bill Cassidy is considering gradually raising the retirement age to about 70 as part of their legislation to overhaul Social Security. Semaphore has learned from two people briefed on their efforts. Other options on the table include changing the existing formula that calculates monthly benefits from one based on a worker's average earnings over 35 years to a different formula that's based instead on the number of years spent working and paying into Social Security. The plan also includes a proposed sovereign wealth fund that could be seeded with $1.5 trillion or more in borrowed money to jumpstart stock investments, the people said. If it fails to generate an 8% return, both the maximum taxable income and the payroll tax rate would be increased to ensure Social Security stays on track to be solvent another 75 years. They said, quote, "This is an example of two leaders trying to find a solution to a clear and foreseeable danger," Cassidy and King spokespeople told Semaphore in a statement. Although the final framework is still taking shape, there are no cuts for Americans currently receiving Social Security benefits in our plan. Indeed, many will receive additional benefits. Also, Senator Mike Rounds, another person working in this group, previously said that raising the payroll tax cap was under discussion. Only the first $160,200 of employees' earnings are currently subject to payroll taxes, which help fund Social Security. If Congress fails to step in, retirement benefits will be cut by roughly 20% for seniors starting in 2032, per the CBO. So, just breaking this proposal down, we can see that it will first off raise the retirement age up to about 70. This will most likely be for younger age groups. Now, the other day, I actually asked you guys in a poll if we should be raising the full retirement age to 70 in order to keep the Social Security Trust Fund from going insolvent. Now, out of all the votes, 14% said yes, 78% said no, and the other 8% said at this time they are not sure. So, of course, that's one of the things that they may end up doing if this proposal becomes a bill and the bill actually ends up passing. Now, secondly, it also includes a sovereign wealth fund that would start out at $1.5 trillion in borrowed money, seeking to generate an 8% return. Now, if they don't get the 8% return that they're looking for, or it perhaps even loses money, then at that point, they would raise the maximum taxable income and the payroll tax rate would be increased as well. And this would just to be ensuring that the Social Security Trust Fund stays on track to be solvent for another 75 years. And finally, anyways, it possibly includes raising the payroll tax cap from $160,200 to possibly a higher amount, which it seems like this proposal will do regardless if they don't achieve those 8% returns in the sovereign wealth fund. Okay, so as far as the chances of this thing passing, first off, once again, it is still a proposal. It is not even a bill, so they still have to draft this thing in a bill. And then once it becomes a bill, at that point, if they get that far, there is a pretty strong chance of this thing passing, I do have to say, just because it is being created by lawmakers on both sides of the aisle. We have Democrats creating it, we have Republicans creating it. So if they're able to come together and reach some sort of an agreement, at that point, the Republicans just have to go back to their Republican colleagues and reach some sort of an agreement with them. and the Democrats or the independents have to go to their Democratic colleagues and reach some sort of an agreement with them. Now, it's certainly possible that Democrats will look at this bill and say, we're not going to be raising the full retirement age to 70. No way. I'm voting no against this bill, and maybe it will fall flat. And maybe the Republicans will take it back to their Republican colleagues and say, no way, we are not going to be raising taxes. And this bill could fall flat that way as well. But right now it is bipartisan, so there is a pretty strong chance of it passing, I do have to say. Once again, this is not yet a bill, it's just a proposal, so they still have a long way to go. Now, as far as the second bill goes, this one is by John Larson. It's called the Social Security 2100, a Sacred Trust Act. Now, in this bill, what it would do is that it would increase benefits, so there would be a benefit bump for current and new Social Security beneficiaries. It provides an increase for all beneficiaries equivalent to an average of 2% of benefits to make up for inadequate cost of living adjustments since 1983. In addition to that, it would also protect against inflation by changing the COLA over to the CPIE formula. It would also protect low-income workers, and they would do that by making the new minimum benefit to 25% above the federal poverty line. Also, it provides a tax cut for 23 million lower and middle income Americans, which will reduce their taxes on Social Security benefits. It would also improve Social Security benefits for widows and widowers in two-income households, so they are not penalized for having two incomes. It also repeals the windfall elimination provision in government pension offset. It would also end the 5-month waiting period to receive disability benefits, and it would provide caregiver credits towards Social Security wages to ensure caregivers are not penalized in retirement for taking time out of the workforce to care for children or other dependents. Also, it would extend Social Security dependent benefits for students to age 26 and for part-time students so they can continue their education. It increases access to Social Security dependent benefits for children who live with grandparents or other relatives. It also would require the Social Security Administration to mail annual statements to all workers showing the FICA contribution workers make and projections for their benefits in the future. This is something that they are actually going to be doing in a recent bill as well, in a new proposal. I think this has a pretty strong chance of passing. It would also prevent unwarranted closures to SSA field offices, and it improves access to legal representation for people seeking long-term disability benefits. Now, in order to do all this, they would apply the payroll tax to wages above $400,000. And if this bill actually ends up passing, it would extend the solvency of Social Security by 9 more years from 2035 to 2044. So this bill does a lot. So just to recap, the things that it would do, the 5 main benefits at least, is that it would increase benefits by 2% for all beneficiaries. It would change the COLA to the CPIE method. It lifts the special minimum benefit to 25% above the federal poverty line. It repeals the windfall elimination provision and government pension offset. And it also provides caregiver credits towards Social Security wages. And they would do all this by raising the Social Security payroll tax cap to those who earn above $400,000 per year. Now, the chances of this bill passing at this point are pretty slim. He would need to reintroduce the bill in 2023 because we have a new Congress. And also, to this date, only Democrats support the bill because they are going to be raising taxes, so they're not going to get many Republicans on board with this bill, so the chances of this passing are pretty slim. Also, John Larson pretty much recently threw his full support behind Bernie Sanders' bill. This bill is called the Social Security Expansion Act, so this is probably the new one that they're going to be focusing on. Now, in the Social Security Expansion Act, what it's going to do is that it's going to expand Social Security benefits across the board for current and new beneficiaries by $2,400 per year or $200 per month. And it's also going to increase the COLAs supposedly by changing the COLA method over to CPIE. In addition to that, it would also improve the special minimum benefit for Social Security recipients by lifting the special minimum benefit to 125% of the federal poverty line, and it would restore student benefits up to age 22 for children of disabled or deceased workers if the child is a full-time student in a college or vocational school. Also, supposedly, it would extend the solvency of Social Security for 75 years by lifting the payroll tax cap to people who earn above $250,000 per year. And they say that under this bill, over 93% of households would not see their taxes go up by 1 penny. Also, it would require millionaires and billionaires to pay their fair share into Social Security. So this bill would require the wealthy pay the same 12.4% on their investment and business income by increasing the net investment income tax by 12.4% and applying it to certain business income not already covered by payroll taxes. So just to sum this bill up, because it does a lot of things. One, it does extend the solvency of Social Security by 75 years and increases benefits by $200 per month. It also increases the special minimum benefit to 25% above the federal poverty line. It changes the COLAs over to the CPIE method, and it does all this by raising taxes on those who earn above $250,000 per year and makes certain business and investment income eligible to be taxed against the 12.4% payroll tax for Social Security. Now, as far as the chances of this bill passing, again, just like the Social Security 2100 Act, there's only Democrats who support the bill, so therefore it's not bipartisan, so therefore the chances of this bill passing at this time are very slim. So in the end, out of the three bills that we just mentioned today, the bipartisan one by Angus King and Bill Cassidy, the Social Security 2100 Act, and the Social Security Expansion Act, out of those three, the one that really has the strongest chance of passing, I would have to say, is the bipartisan one by Angus King and Bill Cassidy. Now, out of all the proposals that I did mention today, the one thing that they all have in common is to extend the solvency of the Social Security Trust Fund. That way we're not having the 25% benefit cut whenever 2032 rolls around. So that would be the one positive thing out of one of these bills passing. Now, another thing that all three bills have in common is possibly raising the taxes on Americans. Now, if they're not able to achieve the 8% returns in the sovereign wealth fund in the bipartisan proposal, they would be raising taxes. Let's say maybe instead of paying only taxes on the first $160,200 that you earn, you might have to pay taxes on, let's say, like the first $250,000 that you earn. This would impact very few Americans because not many Americans actually earn that much money. So it probably wouldn't impact too many people, but that is something that certainly could happen if they don't achieve the 8% returns in the sovereign wealth fund. But with that said, I am definitely curious what your thoughts are. Which of these three bills are your favorite? I'm sure for a lot of you guys, it probably is the Social Security Expansion Act, but I am definitely interested in hearing your thoughts and comments below, so make sure to leave them below. But that's all the news that we have for today's video. I certainly hope that you enjoyed. If you did, I would greatly appreciate if you could give this video a like. Consider subscribing to my channel if you have not already, and I will see you in the next video.